All right, President Biden is speaking after he landed in Berlin, Germany. Let's take a listen.
4 o'clock is going to keep going. I talked with Stevie about that. We're going to work out what is the day after now. How do we secure Gaza and move on? Thank you very much.
Do you feel more presidential about a ceasefire?
I do.
Do you have a sense of when he will end the war, sir?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so from what I could hear, the president was being asked about the killing of Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Hamas, today in Gaza. And what we did hear, a little snippet, was that he would talk with Bibi, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, about the day after in Gaza. And that is what the administration has said, is that this is an opportunity, the killing of one of the main goals of the Israeli operation in Gaza, according to Netanyahu, has been to get this guy, Yahya Sinwar, who was the leader of Hamas. And Biden, his administration today in Washington, now just there on the tarmac in Berlin, has said this is an opportunity to talk about the day after. Translation, let's stop the fighting. For more, let's bring in ABC News senior White House correspondent Selena Wang, who's traveling with the president in Germany. Selena, what do you make of that?
Look, President Biden is very optimistic that this could be the watershed moment that reignites those stalled negotiations for a ceasefire and hostage deal. The White House has been very clear for weeks now that Sinwar was the major obstacle stopping the progress in terms of getting this deal done. John Kirby from the National Security Council had said that he had absolutely no interest in moving discussions forward. And we heard today from the National Security Advisor that Sinwar was more interested in causing mayhem and chaos and death than actually trying to achieve a ceasefire and hostage deal. And the president today saying that without this obstacle, he believes there is a path forward. Now, the big question is Netanyahu going to take this win and take this victory and pursue a diplomatic path? That right now is unclear, but there is hope and optimism that this provides Netanyahu more wiggle room to soften his position and come back to the negotiating table. But look, President Biden, he is here in Berlin to meet with global leaders, including the leaders of Germany, France, and the United Kingdom. Ukraine was supposed to be his key focus here, but the death of Sinwar means that the Middle East conflict is going to come back to the forefront.
Right. If in fact there is this opportunity to end the fighting, to relieve the enormous suffering of the people of Gaza, you know, in a lot of ways that's going to be up to Netanyahu. And so far he has been resisting the president's urging to get to the peace table, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen. But you talked about this trip. This is kind of a farewell, right? This is this may be his last trip to Europe as president of the United States. How much of this will impact what he wants to do there?
Yeah, look, I think, as you say, this is part of his farewell tour, his goodbye to these critical Western allies. And in Germany, they're going to be talking about reaffirming the Ukrainian support, the Ukrainian alliance to help Ukraine in this war, and to really send a strong signal to Putin just weeks away from the U.S. election. And of course, looming over all of this is a possibility of a Trump presidency. So behind closed doors, President Biden is likely going to discuss how to prepare these allies for that possibility of a very different administration, as well as discussing Ukraine's victory plan, in which Western allies have some disagreements over, as well as how to put more pressure on Vladimir Putin. But this comes at such a critical time, and the Middle East conversation, as I mentioned earlier, is also going to be at the forefront here, because while the U.S. and Western allies have been pretty much in lockstep when it comes to Ukraine, there is more daylight between the U.S. and its allies when it comes to the American position towards Israel. So there's two major conflicts that are up for discussion here. And one more critical point about this trip is that President Biden really wanted to say thank you in person here in Berlin to the Chancellor of Germany. He was absolutely critical to getting that Russian prisoner exchange deal done, because the Russian assassin was held in German custody, and his release was critical to getting Russia to release the imprisoned Americans. So a lot for Biden to do in a very short time here on the ground in Berlin.
All right, Selena Wang there in Berlin, who will be covering this trip. Thank you very much for that. I'm Terry Moran. Thank you for streaming with us. There's more news ahead.